All right, good evening, everyone. It's December 5th, 2020. It's a speaker meeting. Tonight, our guest is going to be Dennis. Dennis has been a member of our platform. I think I've seen his name at least since August, so he's been a member for quite a while. Um, and as always, I like to ask our guest for two fun words, and Dennis said "best ever." And I was like, "What?" But I've had a fun time getting to know Dennis the past couple of months, and I think he's got a great personality and a great character. So I found this quote by Maya Angelou very fitting. It says, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." And I think that sums up Dennis pretty well. He's got great style, he's got great humor, he's definitely passionate, and he comes here with an open mind. I know that Dennis wants to do good for a lot of people and for himself. And so, with that being said, let's hear what he has to say.
Good evening. I'm Dennis, alcoholic and an addict. One of the things I wanted to share tonight was something I learned new in recovery, and it took me a while to understand this, but I want to read this. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and in my attitudes. One of the things I learned when I first got here is that we don't have attitudes. Attitudes have us or me. But one of the, I'm just going to come, I don't want to glorify anything, but I want to share how I got here. I grew up in a small town in southern Minnesota, and I grew up going to keggers in high school. I grew up smoking weed, and I grew up doing LSD on weekends. And it was kind of a reckless behavior I had growing up. But what happened was I ended up having to leave home after I graduated from high school, and I moved to Alaska. And in that, I experienced things no person should really have to see. But for instance, I wanted to share this. I got a lot of jobs when I got there, and there's the right way, the wrong way, and the boss's way. And I found myself living in a native village on the coast of the Arctic Ocean, and my boss would have me fly into Fairbanks and get a plane load of alcohol and weed, and then I would distribute it to the natives. That was a dry village, and I knew it was illegal. But that being said, after I sold this one gentleman some whiskey, he murdered his daughter's boyfriend while I was there. And anyway, okay, I put that rock in my pocket. As I moved on in life, I got on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline at the age of 19. And, when you're in the oil fields, it's usually a camp full of men. And I moved around frequently from camp to camp. And then I found Prudhoe Bay. And while I was in Prudhoe Bay, my boss asked me if I would like to sell alcohol to the people of our company. And I said, you bet, you know, all of a sudden I'm everybody's friend. And while I was there, I opened up the drawer in my room, and there's cocaine in it. And they said, you're working 7/12. And that's where I kind of like started experimenting with coke. And as I got into being the distributor of the alcohol to the people of our company, it was a 3,000 man camp. So I got a truckload of alcohol every Tuesday, and I sold alcohol, and I also abused it. And my boss would have a martini night every Tuesday, and I remember blacking out a lot, and I remember ending up in somebody else's room. All the rooms looked the same, and I got to know a lot of people pretty close. And this gentleman had gone out on R&R, and when he came back, he called me over to his room, and he said, I need you to get rid of this stuff for me. And I said, get rid of what? And he said to open up that bag and look in it, and it was a bag of coke. And I said, what am I supposed to do with this? And he wanted me to sell it for him. And I said, why don't you sell it? And he said, look in that other bag. And I looked in that other bag, and there's 120 syringes in there. And he said, that's for me. I can't sell it. You have to. So that's where I kind of got manipulated into having a drug behavior. As life went on, also in that camp, I learned how to freebase. I think I was 21, 22 years old. And that was more than I dealt for. But that being said, that's when I started smoking it. And my addiction and my alcoholism continued on and on and on. And that being said, I thought maybe if I buy some property, that would change things. And I bought some property up in Alaska, and I found myself going there and drinking heavily. And the bars in Alaska close at 5 a.m. And I discovered how to drink heavily. And that being said, I did that for a few years, and I ended up figuring, man, this drinking shit's got to end. Maybe I should get married. And I went and got married. I found a girl in a bar, and we had a child, and I had to quit working up on the slope. And we continued our drinking and drugging behavior into our marriage. And we went to a marriage counselor because we were fighting a lot. And the marriage counselor said, so what are you guys doing? And I said, well, we smoke pot every day, we drink every day, and we do coke on weekends. And she said, you don't need me, Dennis. You need counseling. So in 1983, I went to my first treatment center, and it was an outpatient program, and I had a very good job. And during that process, I followed into treatment, and on the 6th week of sobriety, my wife divorced me because she had told my counselor she wanted somebody who could drug and drink on weekends, which I had never done. I did it every day, you know. But that being said, so we got divorced while I was in treatment, and at the end of that 1 year, I got my 1 year coin, and I graduated from treatment. And I figured that I didn't have a alcohol problem, or I mean, I didn't have a drug problem. I had an alcohol problem. So I quit alcohol, and I went into distribution of coke. And I hung around slippery places with slippery people. There's 42 massage parlors in Anchorage, and there was probably 20 after-hour clubs, and that's the kind of crowd I ran with. And it progressed, and it progressed, and it got worse and worse. And my my experience with drugs had taken over so much of my life that I ended up losing my house. I guess I didn't care about making payments on it, and I still had that cabin out in the woods. But that being said, I ended up homeless on the streets when I was like 30, 40 below. And so I thought maybe I should go to treatment again. So I checked into another treatment called the Aquila House, and I followed their lead and did their direction, and I was in my second treatment. During this period, I really didn't like the way they ran things, and I kind of like had stinking thinking going on, and when they refused to let me do a chore I wanted to do, I was soliciting. We would go out and get free stuff for this treatment center, like food and tobacco and stuff like that, and they wouldn't let me be a driver. And so I got really pissed off, and I left that treatment. I aborted it. I walked out of it after I'd been there about 7 months. And it was a lockdown in-house treatment. And so I went back to get a job, and I thought maybe I should geographical change. So I took a job, still sober, out at the end of the Aleutian chain. And I was on a military island. There was a military base, and I felt like I would be pretty safe there. And I continued to work there, I'd say about 5 months, and sober. And all of us went out to eat one night at the NCO club, and I noticed the bar, and I asked the bartender, "How much are those drinks?" And she said 35 cents. And it was on. Next I know, I was drinking like a wild man. I was getting into fights all the time. And, I want to talk about my relapsing, because I've learned in recovery that your relapses usually start maybe 4 or 5 months prior to when it really does. And I didn't understand that in the beginning, but I've heard that time and time again. As I'm in recovery now, I learn about my people I know who relapse. And the big thing was that in these treatment centers, I knew nothing about AA. We didn't follow up with AA or NA. But that being said, I wasn't saving any money out at this job because my check was being garnished by child support. And at that time, 90% of my paycheck was going to child support, because after my wife left me, I refused to pay child support because my stinking thinking. But that being said, when I came back to town after that job was over in the winter, it was the winter of '87. I think I had $2,000 on me, and I found out my wife was selling coke for the people who I was getting it from. And that kind of like was another trigger for me to get back into drug behavior. And, you know, my reputation of switching seats on the Titanic, I did that for a long time. You know, like I'd switch over and drink like a goofball. And then when I realized the alcohol's got a hold of me, I would switch over to the Coke. And that's called switching seats on the Titanic, and vice versa. And I remember being down to my last $200, and I was staying with my ex-wife, and she didn't really want me there. And I hitchhiked down to Seattle, Washington. And I sold my property that I had, but I was in the hole on that. So I ended up walking away from everything of 16 years of drug abuse in Alaska. And I got to Seattle, Washington, and first thing I did, you know, was get a job in that. And next, you know, I got a car, and next, you know, I get my first DWI. And I got an attorney to get me off. And he was a real good attorney. And he told me, son, the next one is going to be double. And I remember he got me off that DWI for $700. Well, it wasn't long before that I got another one. And I had to use them again. And it was $1,400. Then, as time went on, I got my third DWI. And for my stinking thinking, I drank and drove all through high school. I drank and drove everywhere in Alaska, and I drank and drove everywhere in Washington until I got my third DWI. And what happened was the consequences was I had to go back to treatment. Well, I got situated and I got established, and I was clean and sober. And you know, I was getting kind of lonely, so I thought, man, I need a woman. So I found another woman, and she needed a drinking partner. And so for the next year in that treatment, I had to go to AA meetings as well, and I had to do like 3 a week or something like that. And that's where I found AA, was in Seattle, Washington. But I would go to meetings, and then I come home, and then I drank with her. And I knew they would UA me every Monday, so I would quit drinking Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then I pissed clean on Monday, because I had to be in treatment every Monday. And for the first like 6 months, I think I had to go for the full week. And if I missed one, it was an outpatient program. If I missed one, they'd kick me out and I'd have to go do time in jail. So I just followed that, you know, and I wasn't done yet. I found myself at a bar leaving. This is when I discovered I was an alcoholic. I was in Anchorage, and the bars closed at 5 a.m. And I would stay in there till the lights came on at 4:45. And I would be walking out of the bar, and I would see all these tables with all these drinks on them, half full. And I found myself drinking them on the way out the door, you know. That was a time when I realized maybe I got an alcohol problem. I just wanted to share that with everybody, because that was a sign that when I realized I had a drinking problem, and I already had a Coke problem. You know, I never snorted it after I learned how to smoke it. And that being said, I continued after that, fulfilling the consequences with the state of Washington. I would go and have my friends sign my court slips And so I'd get a month's worth of meetings in one day with different colored pens. And I would show the judge here, I've been going to meetings. Oh, it's Lee, see, look, and I bullshitted my way through that 1-year treatment program. So after that, I kind of got really into my drinking, and I drank so much, like that phrase, the right way, the wrong way, the boss's way. I got a boss that I did coke with. I did lines with him. I didn't let him know I was smoking it, and we drank every night after work, and then we all drove home, and I'd always get a few drinks for the ride home. But in that process, I wanted to share this with everybody that 5 of my best friends that I knew from Alaska and in Washington State died from cirrhosis of the liver. And when the last guy died, I decided, fuck alcohol, and I'm just going to smoke coke. And that's about the time when crack came around. That's when they started calling it crack. That being said, my disease picked up, and that girl I was living with, she was getting sick and tired of it. And I came home one night, and all my shit was in the driveway. So here I go. I got to find a new place to live. And that was her house. But what happened was I went back to the slippery people and stinking thinking, and I continued my behavior. But I had a lot of opportunities to get a good job. So this one particular time, I decided to get sober, and I white knuckled it. I didn't use, I didn't drink. I think I had 216 days, and I was helping out some people that were in jail on work release. And I had 2 jobs, one during the week and one on weekends. Since I was single, I got another side job, and I'll always remember this. He had a lot more time because he'd been in jail a lot longer. And we both worked at this place on weekends. And I came out, we didn't get a job this Sunday morning that we were, hoping to get out. And I saw him sitting in his car with a brown bag. And I went down, and I knew he had clean time longer than me. And I seen him drinking from a brown bag. And for some reason, my life collapsed. For some reason, I went out and bought a big bag of Coke. Now, I can blame it on Andy, but maybe I had this reservation long before I had this really good job. Because, every time I finished treatment before, I always feel like, oh, I graduated, Well, for the next 3 years, I had lost everything. I bought some land up in the mountains, and I drank up there heavily when I went there. But what had happened was I ended up moving into my car, and I lived under a bridge for 2 years in my car. And I lost my property, and that's all I had. And, this is a magical moment. I like those magical moments. They say, don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens, and wait for that magical moment. But they had a drug program where I worked, drug and alcohol program. And I called up the head guy, and I told them my story. I said, I've been smoking crack every day for the last 3 years, and I need help. And he said, he worked on me, for about 8 hours on the phone with the treatment center. And it was, they hooked me up with a place called Changing Echoes down in the Sierras, down in California. And they said, are you ready to jump on a plane in the morning and be here? And I said, yes. And I got on that plane, and I flew into Sacramento, and a girl picked me up, and she drove me 127 miles east of there up into the mountains. And I was in treatment again. This is my 4th treatment. And I had a counselor, and I only went there for 30 days. And at the end of that 30 days, I sat down with the head lady, and she said, Dennis, you're not ready yet. So I said, okay, I'll stay another 30. And then I'm being there 30 days, I got to go to outside meetings. And I went to people, they gave me a list of names every day and said, Dennis, after treatment today, you got to call up somebody on that list, and they'll come here and pick you up and take you to an outside meeting. And that was part of my homework, to go to outside meetings every night. And so I progressed to that, and I found it really disturbing in the beginning, but I reached out to people I didn't even know. And oh man, this one guy said, I'll be there at early to pick you up. I'd be happy to take you to a meeting. Anyway, I got used to going to outside meetings. One thing I'd like to touch on too, I never hid or lied to my counselor. I didn't pull any punches. I told him everything. And he sent me to another group called SLA. And I had to do SLA for the whole time I was there. That's sex and love addicts. And that's another part of my thing. But, I got to know Dennis a little bit better. And so I went to NA, I went to AA 7 days a week. Besides that, I was in treatment all day long, and I had house chores, and I got responsibilities. I had to make my bed every day. I had to clean the house. I got a sense of responsibility or accountability, put it that way. Well, that being said, I decided to stay for that whole 90-day treatment program, and I ended up staying there for 97 days because there was a snow blizzard in Seattle, and I couldn't fly out. Then I didn't have a driver's license either, so I couldn't get on the plane. I couldn't get on the train. So when they sent me back to Seattle, I had to take Greyhound bus. That being said, they said, we're not going to let you go back where you came from. So we're going to, right before I left, I had to get on the phone and find a safe place. They wanted me to do Oxford, and I did not want to do Oxford, but I knew this minister, and I called up this minister, and there were 6 counselors in the room, and I asked him, do you remember that room you told me you had for me a long time ago? And he couldn't remember, and he said, well, I still got a room available. So I moved into a minister's house, and when I got back to Seattle, and I had to stay there for 6 months, and I had to go to church every Wednesday night and every Sunday morning, which didn't bother me. And then I accepted to be baptized by him. I wasn't never a religious person, because the reason why I talked about that guy being murdered in that native village, I'd seen a lot of deaths. I sold alcohol to a guy once that he drank 2 bottles of alcohol that I had sold him, and I left. He was in his room by himself. He drank both the bottles. He passed out on his back, and he vomited and choked on his vomit and drowned in his own vomit. So there was another rock in my pocket. I had a lot of rocks in my pocket. And, I saw shit like that in my life where there's some more deaths, with all the boys that I knew dying from cirrhosis of the liver. I seen drug addicts die in overdose. And I picked up these rocks and I put them in my pocket along the way. And I never really got them unloaded. And I carried them around for a long time. And I always remember this cartoon I saw in treatment of a lifeboat coming by. And I'm out in the ocean swimming around. And these people are hollering, come on, get in the boat, get in the boat. And I had to unload them rocks because I was sinking. So I got rid of them rocks, and I got in the lifeboat and I saved my life. But another thing I learned in sobriety was self-forgiveness. I had to forgive myself the way I treated my family, the way I treated my daughter. I was a shitty father. We got divorced when she was 1 year old. But I did pay all my child support. I did all get that, all got paid, and I started making amends to her and to my family. And one of the bullshit fucking things I did was I smoked crack in front of my dad, and that hurt him. That hurt him bad. And this is where the magical moments come in. That being said, I got baptized and all that, and I got my own apartment after 6 months out of treatment, and I got a sponsor, and he wouldn't sponsor me until I got a service position and a home group. And Jesus, I didn't want to do that. And so I went out and I found a home group away from where I lived, and that way nobody would know me. And I got a service position. I was the greeter at the home group. And that being said, I was there for a year, and I greeted everybody coming into that meeting. And shit, before you know it, I knew 100 people in recovery. And these are cool kids, cool people, all ages. And I only changed one thing: everything. I quit running around with them stinking thinking people. I ran around with people in recovery, which was a magical moment, man, because I figured you could never have fun being sober. And I wanted to take a note on this. The first time I had fun in recovery, I was at that meeting, and these guys said, hey, we're having a party over at Dave's house. Come on. And I thought, shit, what kind of a party is that? Are going to be drinking Kool-Aid or what? Anyway, I get over there, and it's a wig party. And everybody's got a wig on. He's got boxes of wigs. And so we all have these wigs on, and we're sitting around the fire bullshitting. And that was a magical moment. That was the first time I recognized having fun in sobriety. And I bonded with all these people, and I was new in recovery. Well, getting up to 9 months sobriety, where I worked, I got a vacation, and my sponsor works at the same place. And he says, guess where we're going for our vacation? I said, I don't know. And he says, we're going to an AA convention down in San Antonio, Texas. And I said, I ain't going to no fucking AA convention. And he says, oh yeah, get your ticket. So that being said, I got my ticket, and we went to the AA International Convention. in 2010, and it was amazing. Magical moment after magical moment after magical moment. And I really started digging this recovery thing. And, you know, where I live today, I live 8 hours east of Seattle up in the mountains. And this is where I really drank hard. And I'm walking through the grapevine booth and I look at the guy's name tag and it says Colville, Washington, Mike. And I thought, there's sober people in Colville? And that guy, he said, you better come to my house. I do meetings every Friday night. And so that being said, I bonded with this guy. That's a magical moment, you know, and it's a miracle. I was just happened to know somebody from another town because there was like 117 countries at this convention. But that's also the place where I had to clean up my side of the street with my dad. My brothers had brought him. He was in Houston and they came to San Antonio, and I had to apologize to my dad for smoking crack in front of him. And he didn't even want to have eye contact with me. He didn't want to look at me. He didn't even want to hear it. And, you know, the deeper the cut, the longer it takes to heal. And, you know, that's one thing I found in this program is that you got to clean up your side of the street, you know, whether they accept it or not. And so that being said, my sponsor got to meet my dad and he got to meet my brothers, and he's still my sponsor today. I keep in touch with him. I just spent half a day with him recently. He lives on the coast, but you know, he was the one, you know, I followed direction when I met him. He said something that I liked in recovery, and I reached out to him and asked him, would you be my sponsor? And he walked me through the steps. And it was a miracle that I opened up to him. And, you know, one thing about having a sponsor, he wasn't my friend, but he listened to me. And he's not a marriage counselor. He doesn't tell me what to do. He just sits there and says, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I'm venting, you know, I'm pissed off. I don't want this, I want to do that. And he's just sitting there, uh-huh. And then at the end of our session, he would say, why don't you go home and pray and meditate about that? And that would really piss me off. Pray and meditate about it, shit. I learned how to meditate in treatment. But that being said, he was an individual I could trust. And I knew anything I told him, he's not going to go around and blab it around, you know. Like I said, we worked at the same place. And there's a lot of alcoholism there and a lot of drug addiction. But that being said, I'm so glad that he made me get a home group. You know, I've had a few home groups, and I still have them. And I almost want to claim as Sobriety Engine here as my new home group because I frequent here and I enjoy it. And so it doesn't really matter how many home groups you have, but you know, today I have 1,400 sober people in my phone. 1,400, and I can reach out to anybody. And today I was sitting around and I chimed in with a few people to let them know what I was doing tonight because I was getting kind of nervous about sharing my story. But you know, this I only changed one thing, and that was everything. And this is another magical moment. I lost this land in 2007, and I would rather smoke crack than make the payments. So my former boss, he says, I told him what I was doing, and he says, I'll buy it. You know, he's never been here before. And he just handed out $21,000. I owed $5,000 to this attorney because they were going to take it away, and he was charging me $500 every time he called me. But that being said, I got sober. My sobriety date is 9/26/08. And after I got out of treatment, he approached me and he says, "Hey, Dennis, you want to buy that land back? I've never been there." And I said, "You got to be kidding me." And when I left treatment, I had a shoebox. That was all my belongings, just a shoebox. And one thing, I've talked in front of groups before, and I've always skipped this, but when I went to that last treatment, I was running around with this girl. And when I left for Sacramento, I gave her the keys to my truck, brand new truck, and I gave her my cell phone. And I went off to treatment and I kept in touch with her. But then when I told her I was coming back, she disappeared. So when I got out of treatment, I had to go to the police department, report it stolen, and we looked for it, never found it. That being said, I quit making the payments. And 2 years into my sobriety, I got sued for the balance due, $8,500. And with the help of my sponsor, I also owed IRS $17,000. I owe, I paid, he helped me clean up my side of the street, told me, "Hey, you got to do this first, you got to do that, you should do this, what about this?" And when that 2 years into sobriety, that was a trigger for me to go out and use again, being sued for a truck that I haven't had in 2 years. And I ended up paying that off. And I never did see that truck again. And anyway, getting back to today, I'm a regular, this is one thing I learned, that I got to go to meetings the rest of my life. Bottom line, Dennis has to go to meetings the rest of his life to keep his sobriety. And that's what I do. I'm a frequent, I just wanted to share this about my service work. When I was active in my meetings, I did food drives, clothing drives, and I fed the homeless. I made sandwiches for the homeless. I worked under a bridge every Sunday with a month with an R in it. And, that was kind of a slap in the face of reality, seeing, because there are not too many sober homeless people. And anyway, that was part of the service work I did. And then I chaired meetings, and I was the secretary treasurer. And, I've always fulfilled service work in this program. And that's been kind of like the foundation of my sobriety. One thing I had to do with my last counselor in treatment, I had to completely take all those walls down and get a sledgehammer out and bust up that foundation that I had, because it was just shitty. And I had to start new. And by building a new foundation with you people, all you people in recovery, I've got a good solid base now. And I still, I work with others, I've seen a lot of people not make it, and I've seen a lot of people go to prison. Not a lot, but 3. I was there for them when they went in, and I was there when they got out, and then they go back. And I can't keep nobody sober. And a lot of, in the beginning, I thought I could help save somebody. And then when I reached out to help save this one gentleman, he told me, the last words were, "You're better than me." And we'd gone to many, 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 many meetings. I'd go 20 miles out of my way to pick him up, go to a meeting, and take him home. Well, he was cheating and using in between. And when he said, "You're better than me," he went home and committed suicide. I didn't put that rock in my pocket. but that's, and I don't lend the newcomer money. I did in the beginning, but I learned that if you take them out to McDonald's, buy them a meal and take them to a meeting and take them home, that's all you can do. And for a long, long time, probably 7 years, I would go to Oxford houses and pick up a bunch of guys and take them to a meeting. That was another service position I did, and it was doing service work why I've made it this far. And where I'm at today, I've had bank robbers out here mowing my lawn. I've had armed robbery guys out here helping me. Not all of them make it, but all I do is show them and I take them to meetings. And there's a couple. I got a sponsee that I've walked through the steps, and this son of a bitch has died twice from fentanyl overdose. And this last time, he wanted me to show him how Dennis did it. And I walked him through the steps, and he's celebrating 2 years coming up next month. And he's the only sponsee out of probably 2 dozen that have made it this far. And I'm so blessed to have each and every one of you in my life. I'm hooked on recovery, and I'll tell you the biggest disappointment I had this year was there was 5 of us going to the AA International Convention in Detroit, and I went to the one in Atlanta as well, but it got canceled because of this COVID thing. And I'm going to end with this. I'm in the big book. If you ever get time, read page 522. The story's called Grounded. And the reason why that means so much to me is I took a whole bunch of people from a treatment center to a speaker meeting in Seattle, and Lyle B was speaking, and I don't know who Lyle B is. Anyway, he wrote that story, Grounded. And I got to see him again in Atlanta. And he shared a story in Atlanta as well. But Lyle B is about 75, 76 years old today. But his story, I love speaker meetings. And if you ever seen that movie Flight, that's Lyle B. That's his story. He wrote it, but Hollywood changed it a little. And another thing, Lyle B is a Native American. He's from Oklahoma. They had Denzel Washington play his position. But that if you know anything about his story, you should read it. It's enlightening. But I love talking to you guys, and I'll let you go. And I love being sober, and I love recovery, and I love each and every one of you. So you guys have a good night.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for giving us an excellent share. So many great things were said. I know I took my notes. I'm sure we could have a chit chat about it for a couple of hours and talk more about it, but I would like to let the rest of the group reach out to you if anyone has anything they'd like to say. So let's go for it. Craig and Desiree.
My name is Craig. I'm an alcoholic from Chula Vista, California. And Dennis, my brother, what a great talk. You know what? We all have had our shenanigans or whatever we did, but man, I got to tell you that this hour went by like a blink of an eye. I was into it. You nailed every single part, and I got to tell you, my hat's off to you. And I'm an AA'er. I've been in AA for about 11 and a half years now, and things you were saying, I put myself right back there. And you know what? Good job, my brother. Good job. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Dave, how about you?
Hey, Dave, Alcoholic Addict. Grateful for that. There's so many things that I can relate to. Like Craig was just saying, the hour went by so quickly. You're an absolute inspiration, and to have the courage to get up there and do that is just amazing. And thank you for that very much.
Keep coming back.
Isn't one of your favorite lines, meeting makers make it, Dennis?
Absolutely. Even when you don't want to go, you gotta go.
It's true. It's true. I know for the longest time, I was the guy in the background laughing at everyone who told me that. And I went out and had to learn a couple more hard lessons before I came back and realized that I should sit my ass down in these meetings very frequently.
True story.
Anybody else got any words they'd like to share? Leo, go for it.
Hey Dennis, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for sharing for sharing everything. See, I knew these rooms were important, but I hadn't heard in a long time somebody tell me why these rooms are important, man. You are absolutely hardcore. You are a soldier of addiction, and now you are a soldier of recovery. And man, oh man, it is an honor to be in your army. Thank you for your share.
You got any females out there that want to share?
They're all scared.
Well, I like to go every other one when I'm at a meeting if I play
Well,
tag.
I'll share. I am definitely female. And screw that scared business, because you don't get through recovery scared. And but I love AA speaker meetings. I listen to them on YouTube. I listen to them on podcasts. And the AA story is really, I know a lot of people in here aren't AA focused, but the AA lays out the path. There's a path to recovery through the AA principles, the steps, the traditions. And, there's simple you have to do. Work the steps, go to meetings, do service work, sponsor, and not use, and it's like, and I love hearing the story, because the story, you always come away from a speaker meeting thinking, I can do this. He did it, I can do this. And so, man, thanks, Dennis. Thanks so much for bringing a story of recovery through working the steps, and especially when you start off as a non-believer, fighting it all the way. I fought it for 40 years till it was finally like, well, maybe I'll try having a sponsor. And yeah, so thanks so much. And yeah, thanks. Much love.
That third treatment I was in, I sponsored myself. Didn't work. Anybody else?
Shauna here, alcoholic, drug addict, Northern California. I'm so glad I came to this meeting. I happened to look at my phone and be like, oh, there's a meeting going on. So I clicked on my email and went to the link, and I just found myself identifying with so much of your story. And I'm from a completely different generation. And I just am like, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I've had that thought process. And it just really confirmed that I'm where I need to be at. in my recovery and in my life. Because if I don't have my recovery, I don't have the life that I worked hard for 7 years to get where I'm at, just to let, you know, my addictions and horrible thought process drag me down to where I have nothing. I'm off of everybody's radar. I don't want that life. I am currently loving life, which, you know, being on the right meds helps, and actually staying on them helps as well. I'm just like full of gratefulness, and thank you for your share, because it just reaffirmed that I am on the right path. I'm right when I with the whole sobriety engines, my home group, because it's the only one that I consistently make. Even when I feel like crap and I don't want to do it, I just start doing what I don't want to do, and boom, I'm right where I'm supposed to be at. So
Welcome home.
Indeed. Indeed. I claimed this as my home group a long time ago as well. It's a homey kind of place, man. It's, you know, it's homey. You guys are all of my homies. All right, guys. We ain't got nothing else left to say tonight or give Dennis support. We can close out with a moment of silence and then end with the serenity prayer. God,
God,
grant me the
give me the
serenity
serenity
to
to
accept
accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Amen.
Keep coming back.
Keep
It works.
coming back.
Work
It
it.
works when you work it.
that's what
Dennis,
we say
way to
after
go, my
we-
brother. Way to
you.
go.
Thank you. Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you. You guys have a wonderful weekend.
The meeting's over. Love you guys.